Yeah.
It is 6:30. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And good evening, fellow board members, district staff, and our community members. As a reminder to us all tonight, the mission of St. Francis Area Schools is to equip all students with knowledge and skills to empower them to achieve their dreams and full potential while becoming responsible citizens in a dynamic world. Our first item for tonight's agenda is adoption of agenda. Are there any questions prior to a motion being made on the agenda? Seeing none, is there a call to motion for the January 27, 2025 meeting agenda? Ms. Anderson, thank you.
So.
Second? Mr. Schoenrock, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed by nay? Motion passes. Agenda item 3, the Saints Star Award recognition. So this is something new that we'll be doing once a month at our board meetings. The St. Francis Area School Board is proud to present the Saint Star Award, a symbol of excellence and inspiration in our district. This award recognizes St. Francis Area School staff and students or a community member whose actions, achievements, or contributions reflect the core values of our school and illuminate the path for others to follow. Tonight's Saint Star Award is presented to licensed school nurse Beth Anderson for her work with the Cedar East Bethel Lions Club in conducting vision screenings across district last fall. Beth is a school nurse at Cedar Creek Elementary School, East Bethel Elementary School, and the preschool. In December, she was recognized with the Lions Kids Sight Foundation Sight Saver Award by members of the Lions Club for leading the charge in getting 1,142 elementary students screened across the district this fall. As a result, 127 students had a referral letter sent home suggesting a follow-up exam be completed by an eye care professional. About the award, Beth said, a typical day for nurses is to try and make sure the students are prepared to learn. The Lions have been instrumental for the vision screening and for making sure we can see as many students as we do. It's important for the students to be able to see the word or a video or any visual instruction so they have the best possible opportunity to learn. Beth also said she couldn't do the screening alone and would like to recognize some others. Al Schulman, who oversees the Health Services Department for the district and ensures they have the necessary resources and tools. Elementary principals Tony, Melissa, and Ryan for supporting vision screening. Licensed school nurses Holly and Heidi for helping with vision screening. Health EAs, LPNs, Jackie, Dakota, and Teresa, who help with site logistics. Teachers who ensure students arrive on time, know what to expect during the screening, and who offer support to nervous students. Volunteers from local schools of nursing, including Anoka Technical College, Anoka Ramsey Community College, the Cambridge campus, and Bethel University, who help with the screening. Volunteers from East Bethel, or Cedar East Bethel Lions Club, including Ruth and Gary Larson, and Deb Johnson, the Lions Kids Site co-director. And finally, Erin, the district employment specialist, who is always gracious about the paperwork involved in the process. This year marked the third year the Lions in the district have partnered to provide this screening to all elementary students during the school day. On behalf of the school board and the district, we thank the Lions Club, the volunteers, and our staff for their involvement in the district, and we value and appreciate the partnership for these above expectation support. As superintendent presents Beth with an award certificate, please help me in celebrating licensed school nurse Beth Anderson.
That's an awesome moment, we have to capture.
Yeah.
Beth, can you tilt that down? Yeah, right
School board
there.
members.
No, just you. You're good. Really, you want the chair?
You know.
Take a couple more pictures of people from the Cedar, Wise.
Yeah, if I called your name, please come up.
Oh, yeah, Alan Holly as well.
You're fine.
Sorry, I saw you here.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Just press the button, that's what I was told. All right, here we go, 3, 2, 1, I'm gonna take
Thank
a
you
couple.
all. Wow.
I'm gonna slide this way, just there.
That's great work.
Wonderful.
Yeah, if I could just say one more thing for the Cedar East Bethel Ryan's. When I saw the presentation, I learned more about the group, and they're amazing. They meet monthly, it's a good sizable group, and the community service they do is really astounding. So thank you as well. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item 4, consideration of visitor. Tonight we have 2 individuals requesting to speak. We will allow 5 minutes per speaker. I ask each speaker that once your time is reached, that you make your final statements quickly and be respectful of everyone else's time. There will be no board action on any request during consideration of visitor, and the superintendent or myself may address any comments if required. First one tonight, Richard. All right, Richard, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Good evening to all the school board members and everybody present. The first thing I'm doing is going to quote from the Anoka County Herald Union on December 22nd of 2024. Starter found it critical to trust staff and professionals that the school board paid for to do their jobs. I disagree with that statement in that the salvation of the school district is watchfulness of its citizens, including parents, grandparents, relatives, and community in general, not blind trust. Declining scores of the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessment over the last 10 years is unacceptable. I've included those graphs for 2014 through 2023, with 2020 excluded. And then from the Statement of Principles on Academic Freedom and Tenure, with 1970 included comments endorsed from groups through 2014. Teachers are entitled to full freedom in research and the publication of results subject to the adequate performance of their other academic duties. But research for pecuniary returns should be based upon an understanding of the authorities of the institution. The second one, I think is the one that's most important. Teachers are entitled to freedom in the classroom in discussing their subject, but they should be careful not to introduce into their teaching controversial matter which has no relation to their subject. limitations of academic freedom because of religious or other aims of the institution should be clearly stated in writing at the time of appointment. That's all I have. Thank you.
Next up is Chris Lindquist.
Good evening, board, chair, superintendent, my colleagues and Kevin. That was kind of fun tonight. I'm really not here as a community member tonight. I'm here to actually introduce one of our new employees in her new role this year. So at this time, Joan Johnson, would you come on up? If you haven't met Joan, she is probably one of the most visible people in our district, out and about. Joan is our activities director at high school, serving grades 9 through 12 and running all activities, athletics, and activities together. So everything from my man's debate, nice shirt by the way, it's cool, I like it, all the way over to football, hockey, and we saw Mr. Berger last Thursday at practice. So Joan is out and about. She's got a very busy week, which is why I snuck in here in consideration of visitors to introduce her, because she is, I think you've got events Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this week. So not only is she present during the day, but she's also boots on the ground at those events, running the events and problem solving and troubleshooting and whatnot. So if you haven't had the opportunity to meet Joan yet, here she is. She's been in our district. We got here in 2006, five. Joan and I taught FIA together for a number of years. Joan is a distinguished and very established girls soccer coach. She hates when I brag her up in front of people, but holds several school records. And transitioned this year to bring some stability back into our athletic department, our activities department, excuse me. So please welcome Joan, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate or feel free to ask her or reach out. Carson, did you have anything you wanted to?
She was a fantastic hire. And the only other thing I'll add is that you volunteered to oversee the activity, or oversee Joan's work, which is different than what we had in the past. And the whole arrangement has been going extremely well.
She's good. She's really good. So nobody more deserving, knows the community real well, lives in the community, kids graduated from here, both children, twins, were stand-up athletes in St. Francis. It's no surprise. So husband grew up here as well. So that's all I have. She promised me she didn't want to talk, so I'm feeling good. Rob.
Folks, how we usually do talk in consideration of your special as an assistant basketball coach. She's done an amazing job in her first year. Thank you for all that you do and continue to do for our kids.
All right, next agenda item is the consent agenda. For our policy 203.6, we'll approve the consent agenda. There's currently 5 items for this meeting's consent agenda. Are there any questions or requests to remove an item from the consent agenda prior to the motion being made?
Like a, full 5:45.
Second. No second required on that. I want to move forward. Any other questions or requests? All right. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda 5.1 to 5.4? Is that approved? Is there a second? So, Mr. Ward. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. For 5.1 to 5.4. All right, 5.5, approval of extended trip request, St. Francis High School art class. Is there any questions prior to a motion? All right, is there a motion?
I pulled it back because I had questions about it. First, is this the first time that we've had this trip?
I believe so. Certainly the first time since I've been here.
Okay.
Brandon, are you familiar with previous trip of this?
I'm not, I'm sorry. This is the trip that was presented to us a few months ago. But they came in and they said that she said it was the first one.
I just want to comment and say, I appreciate the fact that we have this so far ahead. I realize it's a big ask, this trip, what we're requesting, but we're looking at June 6th of 2026. I like the time frame. I like knowing this far ahead of time. I like having it submitted, and I thank Deborah Pathway for bringing this to us far enough in advance. That's all I have.
Thank you for that.
All right, is there a motion to approve item 5.5? Ms. Anderson?
So,
Thank you. Is there a second?
yes.
Thank you. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next agenda item. I did not see a high school rep here tonight, and there was did not see a written report in the board book. So we will move past agenda item 6.1. Next item is 6.2, school board committee assignments. Again, this is just an informational. The district advisory committees are essential in providing the school board with accurate time information. As school board members assigned to these committees, our participation is beneficial to the overall understanding we have as board members when making decisions that affect those committees' purposes. I thank all of you for your responses and timeliness in getting that information to me. You can see the assignments in the board book. If you have any issues making the scheduled meetings, please reach out to me or someone else that's on that committee just to let them know. And again, we can adjust as needed. This document is not final. If we need to make adjustments, we can do that as a board. Are there any questions or comments? Mr. Shonrock?
Not really pertaining to that exactly, but kind of along the same lines, negotiations. Been assigned before, they'll be coming up this spring. What are you thinking as far as that?
Yeah, so negotiation teams, I'll be working with the district staff on the timeline of what that looks like, and then we will come together as a board and decide who will be on each of those going forward. Anticipation would be before March, and then before we talk that we will have those set up. Do the same thing. I'll be asking for input from all of you as to what your preference is. We'll let you know what the timing looks like, the commitment, and then we can go from there. Mr. Schorr.
Before that, we have a rough idea of who wants a board member on it.
Yep, that's all the information we'll be getting. Any other questions or comments?
What about assigned schools?
So I've made a decision not to have assigned schools at this time because there's no direct purpose that comes back for it. So we are all able to go into all of the schools to participate and talk to our administrators there. The only thing that I ask is that we give the superintendent a heads up if you are going to go in for a specific reason to speak with administrators, just so he's aware that that's happening. But we're not assigning specific schools at this time. Mr. Humphrey.
Board Chair, thank you for the fairness and the quickness and taking people's into account. I really appreciate it. And all your hard work on this, thanks.
I second that. I know you don't need it, but.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item, 6.3, American Indian Education Parent Advisory Council report.
Well, good evening,
Please introduce yourself.
Board Chair, Superintendent, School Board. I'm Marcia Vandenberg, and I am the elder on the American Indian Education Parent Committee. And this is Denise Gore. She is our chair. Our coordinator was going to be here this evening, but she is sick and asked me to fill in, and our liaison is busy working with our students this evening at open house, conferences. I'm not sure exactly what all is going on. So I got short straw, but we're excited to be here tonight, and welcome to Mr. Murphy and Ms. Davidson, or how do you say your name? Anson, excuse me. We're excited to be here this evening and just tell you a little bit about American Indian Education. We were formed as part of the state government because, as you're all aware, American Indian students were put into boarding schools. They just had a lot of trauma in their lives. And so the state legislature took it upon themselves to have an additional department within public schools called the American Indian Education Program. And if you have 10 students that identify as American Indian, then you have what's called an APAC, and we are from the APAC. And so because of that, then when you have over 100 students, then you're required to have another individual who we call a coordinator in our district. And we work specifically with our American Indian students, but we also offer programming that's open to other students as well. And so one thing we're really excited about is we are sponsoring our very first powwow. And that is coming up February the 15th. We are co-sponsoring that with, I gotta make sure, Big Lake, Cambridge ICND, Centennial, Princeton, and St. Cloud. That's going to be at the high school, and the grand entry is at 1 o'clock. And the traveling song, which means kind of the dismissal, is at 5 p.m. We would love to see you all there. It's just a day of celebration. We have many drum groups coming in. There will be vendors selling food. There will be vendors selling merchandise. And so we're really excited. I've been told we might have 2,000 people come. And so this is an exciting day for us. I can't remember exactly how old our Indian Ed department is, but give or take 15 years. So we sponsor a powwow. We're excited. We won't be having a traditional meal since it's our first year, but hopefully going forward, we'll be able to offer that. I am also excited to say that over the years, as we presented our non-concurrences, one thing that we've asked for a lot is professional development. And the school district has really stepped up, and we're super thankful for that. We have specific Indian Ed professional development for staff that has been presented to new staff before school starts. During Welcome Back Week, there was the Dreamcatcher Project. Our Indian Ed coordinator, Haley Daigle, has been presenting at the district leadership team. We've had professional development in on day 172 and presenting at health classes. We've been involved in a lot of things. We thank the district for their commitment to our programming. That makes a lot of, that just helps our students so much, and I hope for our staff to understand where they come from, because they're a unique group of students who have different needs, and that's why we are there to support them in different ways with different types of programming. And so that brings us to our non-concurrences. And you know that each year the APAC is required to either be concurrent or non-concurrent. And our APAC voted at our December meeting to be non-concurrent this year. And I like to tell boards, that's not a bad thing. That's just a way that we communicate with the school district on improvement areas that we think need to be seen. And like I said, the district has really stepped up over the last couple of years with professional development. And so in your package, you'll be able to see what our non-concurrences are this year. We really need to reach our kids. We went through our academic scores, and we have a lot of struggling students, but we also lose a lot of kids over the last couple of years out of our program because our kids they're excelling, and their parents are moving them out of the district because we don't have the programming to really challenge them. And so our American Indian program would like to be able to go into the classroom more and work more with our students in order to work with our struggling students, our excelling students. There are just so many opportunities where we can meet them where they are. Sometimes our kids don't do well because they just don't come to school. And if you can have that one-on-one relationship with them and meet them where they are, we can at least get them into the classroom and figure out what is causing the absence. And so that's just one part of what we do. Our kids are really struggling with racial incidents in the schools, and that's something else that we just like to see addressed in a better way.
Can I step in on that one? I think that ties back to the involvement with the students. My child's over there, and she just excels in this club. They have come and they've supported her in ways that even I didn't know she needed, and they're there for her. and they're encouraging, and they do fun projects, because in our culture, we're very, we call it, we like to do crafts, you know, jewelry, everything, everything. And these people really help bring that to the students and help them from the inside out, you know, where they feel they belong and feel where they feel good. So going to school then feels good, you know, as long as they have a place that is theirs, you know, and that they can relate to. And, which I think, goes back to the racial, things where, our kids kind of feel a little bit different, you know, like, you know, they might look white, but they're not, you know, they feel Indian and, or, and I can't say the word, so, indigenous, don't even ask. So anyway, so I think, with the teachers and the school board and the staff at the schools having, some sort of an idea of, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's in the same category as maybe a Black person or anything trying to get through life, but it's kind of like that, you know, where they're trying to find their way, you know, and find where they belong, and without a lot of other people putting them down for who they are and what they are and what they look like. So, I apologize.
No, that's fine. And that's just a continuing issue that we see in the schools that we, like to work on with the school district this next year, because we want to be an asset, we want to go in and add to the classroom, we want to go in and add to the school. We bring money into the district that is especially given to, our kids, either through federal grant money or state aid money. And then just one last thing I'll close with, the Minnesota Indian Education Association every year has a conference. And we would love for all of you to be able to come for a day, part of the day. This year it's going to be at Mystic Lake Event Center, March 18th through 25th, 18th through 21st, I'm sorry. And it's especially exciting this year because our coordinator Haley and our liaison Lisa are going to be presenting this year. So we have been in collaborating with the Cedar Creek Echo Center for the Echo Science Center over in East Bethel for quite a few years now. And so they're going to be presenting, it's going to be called Bridging Worlds, Integrating Indigenous Knowledge with Western Science. And so we're really excited. We've had a summer program there where our students have gone out and worked and written a manual identifying the native species that are out there and the Dakota language. And so it's very exciting. And so we'd love for you to be able to come. I'm sure that you would all learn so much if you came. And it's a very welcoming environment. We want you to come to our meetings. If you see anything we're doing, just stop in, say hi. We want to share our culture. And so many of the events that we do are just open to everyone like a power.
And really, really, really appreciate your support.
Yes.
Seriously, really appreciate it.
Yeah, Mr. Sherman?
Just back to the power, I'm just so glad that you got to have one come. It's been a few years since they've been one. I know a lot of work goes into it. I can't imagine how much time you've already spent. I'm looking forward to it. But with that many people coming, parking's going to be an issue.
That is not my purview. I cannot answer that question for you.
Haley has been working with the community. So
Haley, Angela Westbrook and I met last week. We're going to do another trial run of a few things in preparation for the 15th. There's an event the night before as well, so we're going to get in and make sure that everything's taken care of. There's no RSVP for this event, so it's really, we're really unsure how many people will show. You know, when we hold graduation, we can hold, the gym holds about 2,000 people. And so if we get 2,000 people to show up, yeah, parking is going to be crazy tight. But it's a good problem to have.
It is.
There's a lot of people on the street.
Because some of the schools are bringing buses, I'm guessing.
That's my understanding.
Haley had an RSVP from one,
I
Marcia.
believe from Hopkins, perhaps.
Yeah, there was
I think-
26 passengers on that bus.
So I don't have to talk to them, just tell them where the parks, but I think that's some of these spots.
We'll work with that on the day. If Haley doesn't send that out, we'll be on site that morning.
Yeah, thank you for all you.
Oh, you're most welcome. Do you have a question?
Any other questions or comments? Okay, my only comment is for powwows, you don't have to be there at the beginning and stay till the end.
That's
You can
true.
come at any time. So if you only have a few minutes, highly recommend getting there. It'll be worth your time. And then the same thing with the conference, correct? You don't have to be there the whole time. There's days, if you're available for a day, try to get down. If you're available for a session, try to get down. You don't have to be there for the whole time.
Absolutely, that's so true, yeah, and especially with the power, just stop by, and it's, lots of times what they have are called intertribals, and which means, so sometimes, let's pretend you go to a powwow up on Leech Lake, and so many of the drum circle songs that you will hear are just for the Leech Lake members, but then they will announce that it's intertribal, so you can get up and dance with that, and you can participate. And so they're joyful events and very honoring to the Native culture.
I belong to the Red Lake Reservation Whitman, and I was at our powwow this summer, and I have to tell you that grand entry is so incredibly moving. It is just, for me, it's chilling. It's so amazing. And then the drums, we had competitions that day. One day we had competitions with all the drummers. They sit in circles, and it's, I don't know, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I find them magical, inspiring, humbling, it's just incredibly beautiful. Every part of these powwows, I can't even think of one that you want to miss. But I mean, the grand entrance is just amazing, and the drum competitions and the drum songs and stuff are just so moving and motivating and inspiring. So I can't tell you which one not to come to or which one not to pass or which one to pass, because they're all amazing. So whatever or whenever you guys can come, you will not be disappointed. I promise you. You will not.
Yeah, but we believe that the drum is alive, and the drum is a sacred, a
Yes.
very sacred part.
Mhm.
And so that is, when you hear the drum, that is the heartbeat. That's the heartbeat of the people.
I'm telling you, that's terrible. So,
See, do you guys have anything for volunteers with the powwow? And if so, how do we organize that? And then, on the conference, does the person need to pre-register to attend?
Yes, and so if you go to our American Indian Ed website, you can look on there for the conference information or contact Haley in order to do that. And I don't know when it opens, but get on it pretty quick. Last year they held it at a different casino and they ran out of room. Mystic Lake should have enough room for everyone this year, but like Mr. Burr said, come for just an opening session, half a session. We were really honored last year. They used our non-concurrences as a good way to write non-concurrence. So that was something that we found we were thankful for. But yeah, look on our website, contact Haley. She's available all the time. Send her an email in order to be able to come. Yeah, we'd love to have her.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
All right, our next agenda item is 6.4, the first reading of our teachers seniority list. There will be an action item to approve this list at a future meeting, but tonight is just our first reading. Our HR Director, Brandon Nelson, will provide a short overview of the meeting. Any questions from any board members or Brandon? Good? Okay. All right, moving on to our next item, agenda item 6.5, the administrative report. Superintendent Anderson has one question once again.
So I do have a written report that's part of the board packet. I will point out that we have a high school report that's attached, as well as an activities report, which is also attached. So at any time, feel free to read through that, contact Mr. Austin or Ms. Johnson if you have any questions. But we wanted to lay it out there so people in the public can see this information as well. I will point out that I was sick last week, Wednesday through Friday, and so I did not update the discipline data like I normally would. There's also a question about why I provided the same information regarding formal challenges with library materials as I did at the last meeting, and that's because we haven't had any additional challenges over the last couple of weeks. So it's the same data, but as formal challenges come through, then I'll add the list and change the status and those kinds of things. So that's all I have to report this time.
Are there any questions for the superintendent? All right, hearing none. As we move forward on our action items, I will ensure that each member gets time to speak. So please bear with me on that. Ask that you respect our fellow board members like we have been, and don't interrupt them as we go through. And then once every board member's had opportunity to speak, then you can come back with additional comments as needed and summarize any of your opinions. Our first agenda item, action item tonight is 7.1, the budget revisions for the current year. DBR Director of Business Services will provide an update on the changes from the previous adopted budget. The revisions include changes in 3 different funds, and she'll go over those. And we anticipate one more revised budget to present it back to the board in the May-June timeframe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Superintendent Anderson, and members of the board. This is a typical report that's given around this time every year in school districts. We take this opportunity to revise our budget for the current year based on more information that we have. As Mr. Burr said, we might have another one coming in the spring as well. It's always good practice to make sure that our budget is as close to what our final results are as we know them. And so tonight is 3 funds, as Chair Burr said. The general fund, we have some adjustments to the budget, and I'm going to skip down the first part, if I could, is just giving an option, which you see here, to look at by fund, our reserved, unassigned, and assigned fund balances of where those categories fall. But the detail is down underneath that for the general fund. So changes in the revenue, a total of $889,000, and it's broken down into categories. The first 5 that are listed there, you will see the revenue related to grants and to title programs. And then I'm going to jump you to the right side of that. You'll see that the same amount in the expense side and for those same grants. So revenue that comes in for a grant, then we're spending that grant money as appropriate. And then back on the revenue side, I just want to talk to third-party billing is a revenue source that comes in, and we do collect funding for that for services that are provided, and we do receive some of that. Our budget was a little light, and so we think it'll be about $175,000 more than that. And then the last category on the revenue side is interest earning increase. Interest rates have been very good. Usually we've been being conservative in our estimate of what we think investment earnings would be because they can fluctuate. But we do estimate an additional $300,000. So of those categories, I just read that's the revenue piece of it. On the expense side, the list is a little bit longer. Again, those first 5 are related to the revenue that comes in. And then we did increase the budget according to the summer unemployment. As you'll recall, unemployment, there's been a change in legislation for that. And now we've got kind of a full year, and we do expect that to be about $212,000 more than we initially planned in the budget. And then the electricity reallocation, we had some items coded in the previous year for the wrong category. They actually were, should have been coming out of the general fund and have been coded to community services. And so we're making that correction. And then just some other items. I know it seems like a lot. They're, tech devices and software. We do see some increases in costs associated with those items. Some increased information on our leases, and then increase in property insurance, and then helmet reconditioning and special ed. We are having an audit performed. And then the final one, we are reducing our budget for the MA billing, or third-party billing by about $175,000. So overall, an increase of just under $300,000 between revenue and expense. And I will just share that we'll still have a nice fund balance, so we're still okay in that category. So, and then if I may, just on school nutrition services, which is down below that, again, looking at the details on it, increase in our participation. We just talked with the nutrition services director today, and their participation is very favorable, given that meals are free. And so we just need to increase the revenue to match our participation. And then, of course, along with that, then when you have more participation, you're going to spend more money on food. So that's included in it. And then also, Wendy has been spending on some equipment and purchases, which is appropriate, and she should be doing. Again, her fund balance for school nutrition is she's doing very well and managing it very, very favorably. So all good news on that category. And then finally, on the last one is community services. On the revenue side, you see that $300,000 that I mentioned earlier. So that's considered a revenue, bringing that funding back to them from the general fund. And then expenses, there's a plan for additional preschool teachers, some gymnastic coaches, supplies and workbooks, and then credit cards and other fees, bringing the expenses up by $180,000. So, and with that, I would ask for the board to approve those adjustments.
Are there any questions for Dee Dee on that report? All right, we'll need a motion to approve the 2024-2025 budget revisions. Mr. Schoner, thank you. A second? Ms. Anderson, thank you. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed signify by saying nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, our next agenda item, action item 7.2, the FY 2025-2026 preliminary budget assumptions and timelines. Dee Dee will again provide an overview of the initial assumptions that will be used in developing our budget. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So in preparation for our 25-26 budget, we need to come up with assumptions, and this is typical to do every year. Our budget starts with our enrollment. And so having an enrollment projection is very important, but then also understanding what the funding formulas are, what percent increases we will assume in our revenue as well as our expenses. And so the report that I put in front of you, the table there, just kind of goes over what it is we look at and what the enrollment is. Thanks for your patience with me as I was working in 2 different years on these 2 items. And so the update you saw this afternoon was to correct the enrollment. So the enrollment for the school district, about 50 students in early childhood and 28 students in voluntary pre-K. That is a new program for the district this current year. And then overall enrollment of 4,008, about 36 students less than current year that we're estimating for current year. And the biggest reason for that is our graduating seniors classes about 320, and our kindergarten enrollments at 274. So we will continue to experience that until birth rates either catch up or we have more kindergarten students because we have larger classes, 7 through 12, and the graduating and younger kids are not coming with us. So we do see over time, which we'll look at the next thing, that our enrollment will start to dip down again, and we will look at how we go through our expenses as well as making a projection on that, which I'll bring to you at another time. And then the next set of categories has everything to do with what our assumptions are on revenue. So what the rate is for the general education funding formula, the compensatory revenue, changes in the levy revenue, which you approved in December, and then what we expect on other revenue, and then federal funds, which federal funds related to COVID kind of ended last year, so we won't have that revenue, nor will we have that expense for the next year as well. Then down at the bottom are the expenses. You can see, the contracts and salaries and benefits that get set by the school board when we start looking on the parameters. And then utilities, everything I looked at, we're assuming that it's going to stay and remain the same, and I'm a little more conservative in my budgeting. I want to make sure that we got enough in there. So I put a 3% in there. Also, utilities can be dependent on weather. And so we want to be able to make sure that we've got enough in the budget there. And then our insurances, you can see all those categories. I did contact our agent to get those percents. I'm hoping they're high, but as you know, as your own property insurance has gone up significantly. So. And then the inflationary increase on the revenue for the state in the funding formula, they assumed 2.4%. If you recall, the funding formula has a floor and a ceiling, and it's based on CPI. And that's 2.4% is their estimate. So anything that didn't have a category, we use 2.4 going forward on the increase on. And then workers' comp, just more of a notification for my benefit, worked with Brandon's HR department. Our mod rate on our unemployment has gone up a little bit. Current budget's at 325,000, so I don't expect it to go up significantly, but we'll see a slight increase. And then Minnesota paid leave estimate, it's a requirement, it's part of the legislation from 2023, 0.6%. And that was about $255,000 that we'll need to budget for next year. And then that 270 that I talked about in revenue for federal funds, that goes away, we're getting that again. And then finding a little bit in contingency just in case something comes up. So those are the actual assumptions. And then I provided to you kind of our historical enrollment. Our current enrollment estimates for 24, 25, and then you can see projected going forward. And as I mentioned, if you look all the way across, these continue to have lower birth rates, lower kindergarten, and then graduating seniors that are still at that over 300, where the enrollment in kindergarten is 264. So over time, we'll have to be looking at either how do we recruit more kids, or then, just the expenditures and the FTEs that go along with the number of students that we have, based on parameters. And then finally, the last part of it is a budget calendar. So I use this as a guideline, and we brought this to administration for cabinet meeting, just kind of going through what is the responsibilities by month. So you can see the top line going across is administration, which is the finance department, along with especially the HR department and the superintendent's office. And then the cabinet, bringing it forward to cabinet, coming up with the items that are listed there, and then eventually bringing it to a work session and or then board action, which all, the end result being we have a full budget ready by the June 30th timeline that's required for the next school year. So with that, I ask that those items be approved as well.
Are there any questions for Dee Dee on that report? All right, we will need a motion to approve the 2025-2026 budget assumptions and timelines. Sorry, preliminary assumptions and timelines.
So
Anderson? Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. West, thank you. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Our next action item is 7.3, a resolution directing the administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons therefore. Superintendent Anderson will give a brief overview of this resolution, or if you have any questions.
So the proposed resolution is really a formality. We do not have a target for budget reduction this spring for next year. But the purpose is to make sure that it's clear that we are always looking for efficiencies in what we do. And we do align our teaching staff and other positions to align with how many kids we have. And so every year we're always looking for reductions for those purposes. And so it's a formality today. If there are those reductions, then we'll bring those changes to you sometime this spring.
Are there any questions for the superintendent? All right, we will need a motion to approve the resolution. I'll read it again so we have it right. Directing the administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions, if necessary, and reasons therefore. Is there a motion for that resolution? First, thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Anderson? Thank you. Are there any discussion points for that motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion for that resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, our next agenda item is upcoming meetings and preliminary topics. Are there any questions or comments about what is presented in the board packet for you? Seeing none. Because tonight's meeting is going swimmingly well, I will be adding a work session for up to 45 minutes after the next board meeting. So we'll do a work session for 45 minutes, up to 45 minutes after. The topic for that will be the school board member handbook. So I will send it out to you guys here in the next week, so you can review and have questions, and we'll discuss that. No action or anything will be taken, it'll just be a discussion on that handbook. We'll go up to 45 minutes after the next meeting. All right, the final item for tonight's meeting is school board member reports. We'll start with member Nixon tonight.
Nothing.
Thank you. Mr. Ortman?
Nothing on the board.
Ms. Anderson? Mr. Schoenrock?
Oh, well, they all that. First off, I took 25 girl basketball players and dancers to the elementary school East Bethel last Wednesday. All the little kids loved seeing those high school girls read to them. It was a lot of fun. We have senior week next week and SFAS the following week, so looking forward to that. Attended the NSBA conference 2 weeks ago. There's always making good connections there. Attended a couple of roundtables. One was about the school board handbook. Looking forward to doing more with that. Also, the board book had a roundtable, and me and Mr. Berger conversed with them for 15, 20 minutes. And I didn't know all the capabilities of board book, and I don't think we use a small portion of it. So it was nice to look into doing more with it. They said you can run your meeting from it, so if the chair is running the meeting, everything on the computer is what Mr. Berg is looking at. I wonder if you can get it up on the screen so that when somebody's presenting, everybody in the audience can see it.
Just a comment on that, I'm attending a live virtual training with board book tomorrow, and hope to get some of the, we're going to actually walk through all of the features and what we can do, and then I'll bring that back to the board to see if that's something we want to implement and what those features look like. But I'm scheduled for that tomorrow.
All right, and then a little bit more. So the girls basketball team, I figured I'd give an update. We didn't start out so well. We started out 1-5, but since then we've only won or lost one game, and we're currently second in the conference. So we're 11-5 right now. So 506. And then this Friday, since we have the student rep here, there's a double header with the boys and girls. It's coaches versus cancer night and youth night. So there's going to be a lot of excitement going on in the gym. And then the following week, there's a school dance that we're going to start putting up posters up with the girls basketball teams going on. So looking forward to that. And I think that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Mr. Johnson.
So I attended conferences for my student at the high school today, and I just want to say it's a very efficient system. I had in-person conferences, the teachers stayed after, and scheduling is super simple. It's online. Everyone appreciate the time. One of the teachers wasn't able to make it, and so we were able to do a virtual meeting at that point, so that was very helpful. And then another one had middle school wrestling to deal with. And so that person actually said, hey, can we meet some other time? And so we were able to meet last week. I really appreciate as a parent the ease of scheduling, the efficiency of the whole system, and then the multi-platform. I mean, we hit on 3 different ways to go about it, and was able to meet with all my kids' teachers. So I just think that's a really good system, the way it's handled. There's no waiting because you're scheduled, and it's a very efficient walkthrough system. It's like about 8 minutes each conference with about 2 or 3 or 4 minutes in each meeting. I really appreciate you guys how you put that together, and the teachers taking time to do so, and the flexibility of doing it. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Ms. West?
Attended a curriculum meeting and, the high school spoke about the Pathways program, where they're at with that. And then brainstormed about how as a district we can work with AI. I know tonight 8th grade is having an open house over at the high school to get acclimated. And then community ed, bear with me here, preschool registration began on Sunday, January 26th. I know DECA is putting together a Valentine's Day. Driver's ed is now fully online, going better than expected, and Be the Change Choir continues to grow in numbers. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Yeah, Be the Change went from 46 to 72 members for this session, so it's going to be an awesome concert. You're not going to miss that. My update, I also attended the MSBA conference with Mr. Shomrock and Ms. West. Some great information, good networking as well, and hope to share some of that info as we continue through our work sessions going forward. I talked about the board book training, and then because we're going to be complete here in a few minutes, the DECA is open during the open house right now, so if you need some Saints gear or a coffee or a snack, they have some snacks as well. It is open, so we can pop in after the meeting and pick up something with DECA. That's all I've got. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting tonight? Mr. Workman, is there a second? Mr. Anderson, thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Shonrock?
Thank you for keeping it under